Mim presents a monsters mashup.
I'm scared.
It'll be alright.
Selestial Norre.
It seems lately that I've been going through a weird phase in my life, between some major shifts in my family's dynamics. I've also found myself in dangerous situations that I've never experienced previously. I live with a roommate in the old part of Lisbon. When this happened, my roommate was enjoying vacations in Algarve, meaning I was completely alone. My sister used to live with me, but she moved cities, so I transformed her bedroom into a living room, which is where I spend most of the time when I'm at home. Our neighborhood is pretty peaceful. Some of the neighbors are a bit weird and temperamental, but they're also good people who would pick up the mail and keep it safe for you. Still, it isn't uncommon to hear them having heated arguments until dawn. Last Friday was one of those nights. I got home around 1 a.m. after some drinks with my friends. The house was pretty warm, so I opened up my main window, right next to the couch. I feel pretty energized and decide not to go to bed and watch some movies while my neighbors shouted loudly at each other. I always watch movies wearing headphones, but I had forgotten them at work on that day. So I had to be content with struggling to hear what the characters were saying through the whole movie. Thank God I forgot them. For a while now, between the movie and the neighbors bickering, I could also hear someone, somewhere beneath my house, whispering. I couldn't understand what was being said, but I realized that there was at least two guys. I live on the first floor and reasoned that these guys were right beneath my window. I didn't think much of it. The area where I live is smack dab in the middle of the three main nightlife areas, so drunk people hanging there till night is also pretty common. I also considered that these two could somehow be related to my neighbors. Maybe the bickering drove them into the street, and they were whispering because they didn't want to wake up the other neighbors. All in all, it seemed like a completely normal night from my neighborhood, but my gut was telling me that I should be alert. I tried to rationalize why I was feeling so anxious, but only one question kept popping up in my mind. Why are there two guys beneath my window? There are many places where you can sit and talk to a drunk friend in my street, but beneath my window, there was just a door. No step where you could sit or anything, just the dirty road and the door. That was weirding me out, but I rationalized that they had been there for a while, so there probably was no danger. I heard a loud metallic clank noise. I nearly jumped off my couch, all the time telling myself I'm just being paranoid. I figured something had happened. I looked outside my window without getting close to it, but I don't see anything. I think about trying my roommate's window to inspect the street. It began moving in that direction. On the corner of my field of vision, a hand suddenly appears at the bottom of my porch, and then another. I look at this scene, trying to process what I'm seeing. In a flash, my head is flooded with questions, and time seems to be moving really slow. What is he doing? Is he trying to balance himself on my porch? How did he get so high up here? What does he want? What I was feeling wasn't outright fear, just massive confusion. The type that precedes fear. I felt like my brain was melting inside of my skull. His hands are laboriously working up my porch as he tries to climb high enough to get his foot on it. I realized he hadn't seen me yet. He spoke to his colleague. "Push now! Push now!" Those words snapped me back into reality. This guy was really trying to break in. I sprint to the window. Each step hit the wood floor like thunder. This alerted them to my presence. In a flash, I'm on my porch, my fist high in the air ready to knock this guy down. But before I get the chance, he lets go and falls to the ground on his 2 feet. Both of them sprint up the street, running and looking back to see if I'm coming after them. My face is locked in a furious glare, but honestly, the reality of the situation is starting to crash on me, and all of my energy seems to suddenly vanish. I sit back on my couch, my legs are shaking wildly. I phone a friend, but my words struggle to come out. I begin trying to make sense of it all. Only then did I realize something that chilled me to the bone. My lights were on. The window was open, and I had been walking around a lot in the living room to grab snacks and other stuff. These guys knew someone was home, and they still tried to break in. I haven't been sleeping right since that night. I was trying to figure out what their goal was. What if my sister had lived there? I think what shocked me the most was having a place you consider safe suddenly being violated and all sense of security is all gone. Now I only feel safe by the window whenever I'm smoking, because I can see who's walking up and down the street. The rest of the time, I keep looking over my shoulder. I really just want to feel safe in my own home again.
Demon Core.
My family and 2 other families were camping for the weekend. They were both friends of my parents. I was the youngest, and all of the other kids were much older than me. I looked forward to it, but I really wish one of the kids was closer to my age. Once everyone got there and did some unpacking, plans for the night were starting to take shape. It seemed like the grown-ups would be going into town and having dinner, while the rest of us would be exploring the campsite and nearby woods area. I did not really want to do either of those things, but figured dinner with the grown-ups would be more boring of the two. I'll just tag along with the other kids, and maybe, just maybe, end up enjoying it. Night came, and we all said goodbye to our parents. The others started making a beeline towards the woods. I was actually hoping they would decide to stick around on the campsite. Maybe we could have all played games. I did not want to be laughed at, so I stayed quiet and just followed along. I did not understand why they wanted to go into the woods so badly. Eventually we stopped in a clearing. One of the guys then took some beers out of his backpack. I also heard them talking about weed. I finally understood why I wanted to be in the forest instead of the campsite with other people. I wanted no part in this and decided to wander about. I put a big stick in the ground and decided to walk 50 feet in each direction and then back to the stick. I saw this technique on a survival show, something with Bear Grylls probably. It seemed like a good way to explore a large area and still not get lost and make your way back to the starting point. The others had not even noticed me leaving. Well, screw them, I thought to myself. I set off in the opposite direction they were sitting in. I kept thinking to myself how I always managed to get myself in bad situations like this one. Being at home playing with my friends would have been so much better than this. I was so carried away in my train of thought that I forgot to count how many feet I've walked. I was also not sure if I walked in a straight line like I was supposed to. I suddenly noticed a cabin not too far in front of me. It seemed deserted and did not even have windows. I might as well go explore and head back in the direction I think I came from afterwards. I made my way to the door and opened it. It was empty, just as I thought. I walked in further inside and put a brick I was laying on the floor in front of the door. If the door was closed, there would be no moonlight shining through, as there were no windows. From what I could see, it seemed like downstairs was just a living room and a little kitchen. I made my way up the stairs, which felt like they were going to give way any moment. Upstairs was just a massive open area. It was really weird that there was no bathroom. Before I could think about it any longer, the front door suddenly closed. I moved quickly around the corner so I could not be seen from downstairs. It had to be a person. No way the wind was strong enough. My reasoning was soon confirmed when I heard footsteps. There was no place for me to hide, and no place to get away. Only way maybe would be running down the stairs quickly and open the door and run out of it, hoping the person would not be standing in the way and struggle seeing in the darkness more than I did. Nah, that is stupid, I thought. Rather wait up here and hope the person does not come upstairs. I did not hear footsteps anymore, so I waited. What the hell could he be doing? There's not even a place to sit down there. I decided to sit down after a while, careful not to make a sound. My legs were super tired. I really wish that I brought a flashlight with me or something. Upstairs it was pitch black. I wanted to see if maybe there was something I could use as a weapon. I nearly screamed when I heard footsteps again. I then heard the door open and close again. I could not believe my luck. I was so sure he would get me. The door being open with a brick in front of it should have been a dead giveaway that someone was inside. Oh well. I was still hesitant when climbing down the stairs, but I honestly felt like skipping down them and whistling. My good mood did not last long, however, because when I reached the last step, I saw the guy, and he saw me. He was not outside at all. He simply opened the door and then closed it again, tricking me into believing he left. He had a sick grin on his face. He then started making his way towards me. With each step, his smile widened, and he started to laugh maniacally. Just then, I heard my name being called. The guy's face turned into a shocked face. He was clearly contemplating his options. He moved away from the door. He then told me I better shut up, or he will kill my entire family. I did not have to think twice. I rushed over to the door and ran to where I heard my name being called. "Where the hell did you go?" one of the kids asked me when I reached them. It seemed like all of them had come to look for me. "Nothing, just exploring. Please, can we go back to the campsite?" "Sure, little man," he said. Looking back at it now, a few years later, I made a lot of stupid decisions that night. The most stupid of them all was not to tell anyone about the cabin or the guy. What can I say? I was scared as hell. It does bother me though. What was the guy's intentions? It can't have been good. What if he got another kid in there with him? In the cabin, with no windows.
Stranger stories.
When I was a sophomore in high school and about 16 years old, I used to walk home from school. Out of all the tiny streets and little neighborhoods I used to walk through, I would never guess that I would meet a creep at an extremely busy street. To set the scene, I'll give you a description of the area. The street in front of me, which was about 2 houses down, had a crosswalk. There was a middle school and an elementary school a block away, and it was time for kids to leave school. As I said before, I was walking home from school. It was a nice day out, so I'd already passed people jogging or just out because of the nice weather, so I thought nothing of the guy standing and doing nothing in front of a random house. When I reached him, he began speaking to me, but I had my headphones on and I couldn't hear a thing. Me being me, I took one of them off in order to try to hear what he's trying to tell me.
So you go to school?
I get weirded out by this question for 2 reasons. What random adult asks a teen clearly under 18 what school they go to? I had my uniform on, which clearly says the name of the school. I reply with an attitude due to the oddness of the situation and the weird vibe he was giving off. Yeah, why? He was visibly nervous or something, like he knew he was doing something wrong.
Do you want to come inside and watch TV and have a drink or something?
He asked. Then, when I noticed his eyes were red and he looked like he was drunk or high, I panicked. I firmly said no and put my headphones back on and began walking away as quickly as I could. I kept looking over my shoulder while walking away to my apartment because I lived in the next block, where he could see the building I went into. I just wanted to make sure he didn't know where I lived. This whole situation had me pretty shook. I've never seen this man before, and this is a path I take home almost every day. I thought about the situation a bit more and realized that the house he was standing in front was in between 2 schools, where young children pass by all the time, every day. I can only hope this is not his house. I'm not sure if this is related, but about a year ago, a kid from one of these schools went missing, never to be found again. So, creepy guy who lives in between two schools, I hope we never meet again. In fact, I can only hope that not me nor any other children will ever have to meet you again.
Monsters in my mind.
My daughter Amanda came into the bedroom last night. "Daddy," she said to me when she shook me awake. Her eyes were wide and her lower jaw trembled. Groggily, I woke, rubbed the sleep from my eyes, put on my slippers, then looked around the room. I said, "What is it? Go back to bed." "Daddy, come quick. Jem is going to be a butterfly." That was an odd thing to say about a cat. Our cat Jem had recently returned to us after she had ran away for about a week. We found her just outside the fence of an abandoned army base. She smelled like shit and was chewing on something. The base hadn't been used since World War II. Rumor was that it was a test site for alternative weapons to win the war. What that meant, I don't know. Regardless, we found her. My daughter was happy, and Jem was home with us. In the first few days, things were normal. Then the cat became aggressive to everyone but my daughter. Growls, scratches, and hiding were things that weren't usual for her. Yesterday, she just stayed under my daughter's bed, yowling the whole time. She had a vet appointment the next morning, but you'll soon see why that was pointless. I got up and walked to my little girl's room. Strange lights emitted from her door. They pulsated a soft yellow glow. When I got inside, I jumped with a start. On the wall was I'm not exactly sure, but it looked like a large cocoon. Something squirmed inside of it. I went to go touch it, and it snapped at me. The thing had a mouth. "What the hell?" I exclaimed. "Honey, go get Mommy," I said to my daughter. Thrashing and movement continued under the silk that had been spun. "Mommy, something is wrong with Jem. She won't get off the wall," I heard my daughter say from the other room. It took a bit of time, then my wife Lisa woke up and followed Amanda to her room. "What the hell?" my wife asked. "That's exactly what I said," I responded. Deep, heavy breaths came from behind me. I turned to look and saw my wife was leaning on the doorframe, half collapsed. Her body shook uncontrollably under her flannel nightgown. I then told Amanda to go call the police. Anything to keep her out of that room for as long as possible. Lisa crawled up the wall to get back on her feet. She started towards the cocoon when a low growl emitted from it. "Don't go near it," I warned her. Loud groans came from the cocoon as the mouth opened. They reminded me of a cat spitting up a hairball. Out spewed a bag of slime. With a wet plop, it landed on the carpet. I wrinkled my nose from the acidic smell. A low growl shook the floor. Razor-like claws tore at the ooze from the inside. Then Jem came out. Well, it looked like Jem, but dark green scales replaced her once soft calico coat. Fangs hung past her mouth. Perky cat ears were gone, and her gentle golden eyes were now a piercing red. Her back arched as she hissed at us. Lisa bent down to reach out a hand. "Oh, my kitty, what has happened to you?" she asked, just seconds before those sharp claws swiped at her. Fingers and blood flew across the room. I grabbed the closest thing possible, which was the lamp on Amanda's nightstand. Lisa yelled and screamed as her vital fluid spurted out from where her fingertips used to be. I hurled the lamp at the cat without unplugging it first. The cord tore from the wall and it smashed on the ground in front of Jem. Next, I got in front of Lisa to protect her. Jem eyed me for a moment, then lunged at my face. My hands went up like a shot to grab her midair. Powerful muscles rippled under her new scale coat. A few swipes grazed my face. Sharp fangs then bit into the soft flesh between my finger and thumb. With a yell, I dropped her. Hisses erupted from the cat-lizard hybrid's mouth as she ran at me. Instinctively, I kicked at her. Luck was on my side as it connected and sent her flying through the closed pane of glass. Shards covered the ground. I rushed to the window to see if Jem had lived through that. She was on the concrete below, unharmed. Those scales must have been as tough as steel. With one wicked look back at me, she ran off into the dead of night. Lisa lay unconscious on the floor. I tried to bandage her as best I could. The police showed up a while later. They took my report, but I don't think they believed a word I said. When they saw the cocoon in the slime bag, they had no explanation. It all seemed preposterous. Lisa went to the hospital. They were able to reattach a few of her fingers, but her hand will never be the same. The police still don't know what to make of it all. They're on the lookout for a mountain lion. Some men from the military came by to ask us questions. They didn't seem too interested in our story. All they asked were what the cat now looked like and how it acted. I'm sending this out as a warning. Jem is still running around somewhere. Be careful where you go. You may come across a demon cat.
A big thank you to Selestial Norre, Demon Core, and Stranger Stories. It was really cool that you guys joined me in my first Monsters mashup. Be sure to go and like and subscribe to their channels. Links are pinned in the comments below, as well as the end tiles here. And thank you to the viewers for watching this video. None of this is possible without you. Alright, have a good one. Bye.